Hey, welcome CrossFit World, or CrossFit Oakdale in particular. So everybody's enjoying your isolation, enjoying the quarantine games. This has given me a little bit more time to meal prep. Try to do this on Sundays, but sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I'm more of a macro counter than I am a zone person, so I know a lot of people are doing the zone diet challenge right now. Good luck to you. I've tried the zone before. It didn't necessarily work well for me. Counting macros is actually a little bit more consistent, and I was able to keep things moving along and doing extremely well on that. So, like I'd mentioned before, to a lot of you, I've done the RP challenge, the RP diet template. I still try to follow that as much as I can. I need 40 grams of protein according to the template that I use, and about 30 to 35 grams of carbs. So this breakfast typically works out well for me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make some egg white waffles. I know that I saw that Wendy had posted the egg white waffle that she had made, so I figured I'd add to it, kind of walk you through my process, so that way you could take a look. Hopefully you can kind of see the different things that I do and how I try to season it up a little bit, give it a little flavor. Egg whites typically aren't the most or the best things to eat, or I don't think they're the best things to eat, but definitely low in cholesterol, and as you are 40 plus, sometimes cholesterol is not your friend. But, so what I try to do is I use the Kirkland brand of egg whites, some non-cooking spray. I flavor it with some rosemary, some oregano, some garlic, and parsley. I try to do that, put it in my little mixing bowl. As you can see, I've already tried one batch. If Marcy takes a shot of my egg whites, let's just put it this way: sometimes you need two hands instead of one, holding the camera and trying to freaking fish out your egg white waffle into the thing. So that's why we're reshooting this. So like I said, I count my macros, and so counting macros means the scale is really important. What I need to do is I need to figure out how many egg whites that I can have in order to hit that 40 grams of protein. So always the nutrition facts on the side are really super important. So you see on there, it's 46 grams of per serving, and you get 5 grams of protein. If you go to Macro Helper calculator online, there's a lot of different calculators, but that's the one I typically use, is Macro Helper. Real good calculator, does real good for me. Putting this in, I get roughly about 330 in regards to grams of egg whites. That's a lot of egg whites. So almost 320 grams of egg whites is a lot of egg whites. So I cut that in half. I do 150. That gets me about 17 grams of egg whites according to the calculator. So I added additional protein sources to be able to help with my breakfast. I need about 20 more grams of protein. Typically throw this on 2 pieces of Dave's Killer Bread. That way, the Dave's Killer Bread, the net carbs that yields typically is enough for me to be able to satisfy that particular portion of my meal. I also need some vegetables, and we can talk about that later. So let's get into making the egg whites. Bowl, some remnants of all the seasonings that I've already used. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on my scale. I'm gonna hit 0. I'm gonna take my egg whites, I'm gonna pour these in. Be careful not to go over, because, well, if you go over trying to get the egg whites back in the container, it isn't always the easiest. So fortunately, I have about 100 grams there. I need an additional 50 grams. 48, and there's 152. The reason why I went with 150 is because to put it in my waffle maker, anything typically more than 150 grams spills out the back, spills out the sides. So I always try to use about 150 grams. If I need to make additional egg white omelets or egg white waffles, I'll eat those, but typically I only eat one. And mix that in with everything else. But 150 grams in the waffle maker is typically best, just so that way it doesn't spill all over the place. So I'm going to take my rosemary, 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary, put that in. oregano, quarter teaspoon of that, put that in. Quarter teaspoon of, this happens to be the refrigerated garlic that you get in the produce aisle. I put that in. Sometimes I'll put regular minced garlic in. Not always the best because it doesn't mix up real well. And then we're gonna take some parsley. We're gonna put that in. All right, so we got all those seasonings in. I'm gonna take my whisk and I'm just gonna whisk it just to try to make it a little bit more consistent throughout with the seasonings. As you can see, it kind of does a pretty good job, but the seasonings don't typically do real well, kind of being evenly dispersed. So my waffle maker is already on. I'm gonna take my non-cooking cooking spray from Costco, and I'm gonna go ahead and evenly coat my waffle maker there. And if Marcy wants to come around to the side, she can take a look, see how I pour this in. So you can kind of see where I'm at with my egg consistency. I'm gonna try to do what I can, pour it evenly through, and then I'm gonna put it over here. And I'm gonna kind of rinse my bowl a little bit with the egg whites just to try to get as much of that seasoning as I possibly can. I'm gonna keep pouring it in, trying not to be too sloppy. And get as much of that seasonings in. So you can see I tried to get as much of that seasoning into that egg white mixture. You can see I tried to evenly coat it on both sides. Missed a little bit over here, but that's all right. I'm gonna close the lid, and we're gonna go ahead and you can kind of hear it sizzle and crack and pop. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait until the camera says, or not the camera, wait until the waffle maker says ready, and then what we'll do is we'll open it back up. Hopefully we don't have this type of debacle that I had on the first round, since Marcy's gonna be holding the camera and I don't have to worry about holding the camera and trying to scrape my egg white waffle out of the waffle maker. So with that, Marcy, go ahead and pause the camera and we'll come back here in just a minute. All right, so we've turned back on the camera here. You can see how the waffle maker is starting to come up a little bit. You can see it kind of sizzle and crack along there. There's those egg whites that are starting to kind of come up from that waffle maker, get a little bit more fluffy as I am. So what we're doing is we're just kind of waiting. If that red light doesn't come on, I'm not going to sweat it, but I don't want to burn my egg whites either. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look, see where we're at. So you can kind of see how that mixture, the seasoning mixture, is all throughout it. What I'm going to do is I typically use a fork and a pair of tongs to help me be able to get this out of here a little bit, so that way I don't end up burning my fingers. Go ahead and flip that over, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, I use my meal prep containers. I throw this in and I'm going to go ahead and place it in there, and a little bit better than the first go around. So what I do is I'll put these in this container. I'll let them cool off. I'll put them in my fridge. I'll save them. I'll typically have one a day with my 2 pieces of Dave's Killer Bread, and then I try to throw in an additional protein source. I say cheese, but cheese isn't really good because, well, it has protein, but it has fat. I'm trying not to eat the additional fat. So what I'll probably end up doing is maybe throwing in some turkey. Trying to really cut back on cholesterol and any animal-based kind of proteins, but I still do eat them from time to time. And egg whites is a good substitute. So I might try to do like 20 grams of turkey breast or chicken. In addition to that, make a nice patty melt. So I'll toast my bread. I'll put this on, and maybe I'll put some turkey breast or something like that, and make a nice sandwich, a nice breakfast sandwich. So typically will satisfy me till about 11:30. But you know, then I'll have my next meal. But this is a go-to. I can be able to pull them from the fridge, reheat them. Typically last the whole week. So if I make them on Sunday, they'll typically last me till Friday. So have fun. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. If you do any meal prep, this is easy. I'll shoot some of the other things that I do on meal preps, just so that way you guys can kind of see what I do for maybe some of my additional meals, my sweet potatoes, how I make those, and then maybe also my other protein sources as well. So enjoy.